this computer. Here we go. Awesome. All right. So I'm going to select the layer, right? I have different layers in here. I'm going to select the head layer here. I'm also going to select the layer itself. So I have the head, but then I've selected the layer mask. You can see that little white lump with the black background on there. Now, I'm going to use the three dots down here at the bottom, and I have a whole bunch of different things that this will allow me to do. And the one that I'm going to do here, you can even guess what it is maybe, but it's going to be the one where it says add mask to selection. So instead of having to like redraw and refigure everything out, if I just click add mask to selection, see how it automatically made that selection again for me, right? So that was super easy. So now I know I'm only going to affect what's happening in that little layer right there. All right. So that is step one. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this here where it says, there's a couple of different ways to do it. Let me see here. Oh, I don't want to do that. Ah. Hang on, let me delete that layer. Sorry. Again, this is me fumbling through the iPad controls here. I'm going to add a clipped adjustment. So what that clipped adjustment means is as I add one of these adjustments to my layer, it's only going to adjust to that head, right? It's not going to adjust the whole thing. So now if I go to, I don't know, these are pretty self-explanatory here. Let's go to hue and saturation. All right, if I drag this hue here, see the way his head is now turning colors, right? And it's only affecting that head. So I can make that head a little more green. If it's too saturated, saturation is the amount of color that's in there. I can turn the saturation down a little bit, or I can make it strangely oversaturated. All right, then I can also use this lightness here, and I can adjust the color lightness here. I do not know what colorize is. Let's see what happens when we flip the switch. I guess it's trying to color it to what it thinks is the most normal, like from black and white to color. So anyways, that is a adjustment layer that's clipped to that layer. And you can see at the top up here, the way this is here, and then there's like a little arrow right here. It connects those two. So that adjustment is just clipped to this particular layer right here. So it's not affecting the whole thing. It's just adjusting to that one particular layer right there. All right. So that's one thing you can do. You can also do that for, I'm going to dump that layer here. Delete mask, and then delete layer. There we go. All right, and I'm showing you guys how to do that selection tool. I think when you do the clipped mask like that, you don't even need to do the pre-selection to do that. I'm just old school, and that's the way you used to have to do it on the computer. So again, just thinking about making that selection in there. Another thing you can do is, let's say that face is too bright. So again, you can sort of go through that list. Let's try it without even selecting it. Let's say add clipped layer adjustment. And let's do exposure. Oh, there you go, perfect. So I don't need to pre-select on the iPad. Right, so this is going to help me adjust the look of sort of like the exposure, the brightness. Here's the opacity of this particular layer. So that's how much of it is affecting in here. I have crazy blending modes here. You know, again, you can sort of mess with some of these in here. Sort of a mess. But all those things are, when I look at this top up here, this is clipped to that one layer only. So it's just these two layers here. And if I wanted to do another one like the arms over here, and I wanted to make the arms a different color, I would have to click on the arms layer. I would go down here and I would say add clipped adjustment. And let's do another, just because hue and saturation is the most obvious. Right, so maybe I want to match his skin tone from his chest onto his face like that. So some of the scales on the chest sort of match. So I can do that as well. All right, so there you go. That's another way to do it. Then a third thing we can do is if we want to adjust our selections a little bit. So let's say, here, let's hide some of this stuff here so it's not so confusing. Oops. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to hide the background. like that. All right, I'm going to put some bear legs on here. You can see these are the legs that I chose to put on here. What I can do is if I go to picture, I'm going to say photos. I'm going to again grab the photo of my bear. There he is. I'm going to make the legs the size that I want them to be. All right, and then I'm going to say done. Then I need to move this layer down here so it's in the right spot because I want it to be underneath all those other layers right there. I am going to change the size of that using that tool a little bit. I'm just going to make them a little bit smaller. And I want that piece to be like that. I'm going to say done. So then again, I'm going to select the background, but I'm going to use my selecting tool here, and I'm going to say select subject. It's going to do a pretty good job. And then I can select this guy right out, just like we normally did, right? So down here, if I don't like this part that's connecting the feet, I can use this selection right here. This is that subtraction part, right? And then I can use my lasso tool and I can circle this part in the middle, and that gets rid of that selection that's right in the middle. But I can also refine my edge a little bit. Now this is something we didn't do last time, but I'm going to show you. And again, if this is a little bit confusing to you, if you're just hanging on and understanding some of the other stuff, then you can ignore this part. This is just sort of like a little bit of more like fine tuning. I can get a little closer to get this part. This is a little bit more like fine tuning to make your picture look better. But again, it takes a little bit of practice and you have to sort of understand the basics of it. I can see here I'm going to go to plus, and I'm going to add this part of his leg in here too. Sort of missed that spot. All right, and then if I want to, if I don't want the top half of this guy in here as well, I can use that minus again, and I'm going to, there we go. I just deselected all that stuff on the top. So I just have the legs on the bottom down here. Now, if I click on more, and I click on refine edge, I can see here, here's overlay. This represents that layer mask, right? So everything that is orange or red is the masked part. That's going to be blocked out. And everything that I can see through is going to be visible, right? And then you can see here, like this bear has hair on his legs. Oh, what just happened? I think Photoshop just quit on me. The bear has hair on his legs. So when you have something that has a smooth edge on it, it's very easy. Come on, Photoshop. It's very easy to find that edge. All right, let me select my object again here. Hold on. Crash. Oh, subject is still down. All right, hold on a second. But when you have hair or you have like a fuzzy edge or like a crazy furry edge on there, sometimes it's a little bit harder to find that edge. All right, let's see if it'll let me do it again here. There we go. All right, so again, I'm going to quickly go down here. I'm going to say minus. I'm going to get rid of this bit in the middle here. I'm going to get rid of this bit at the top. There we go, just like so. All right, so I'm going to go to more. I'm going to say refine edge. Let's hopefully it doesn't crash again. Overlay again. So I can see here, see that hair looks sort of weird, like it's sort of bumpy and crazy on the edge. So what I'm going to try, these are some new tools that they have in this program. I'm going to say Smart Radius. I'm going to turn that on, and then I'm going to start to pull my edge detection. And what edge detection does is, depending on how far you pull this over, there you go. See how it looks more like hair? If I pull this back to 0, see how it looks just sort of flat and dull right there? And I pull that edge detection over a little bit, slowly but surely. It gives me a little bit more definition. And sometimes you have to wait. There we go. Like I just pull it over and then I wait for a second. That looks pretty good. But then down here at the bottom, I can see I have this part of my foot. So on this side over here, these tools allow you to add to your selection, add the mask, or subtract the mask here. And then this guy right here is the size of the brush that you're using. So I'm using a pretty small brush. And I'm going to say, let's add a little bit of mask right here. And it takes a minute. Like you can see it sort of flashes here. And I'm just sort of gently putting my finger on there and making it go. You don't want to do too much because again, the computer's doing the best that it can with the colors that you have. But if you have a lot of like weird mixed colors in here, it's going to have a hard time finding the difference here. So I'm just trying to clean this up a little bit. Here I can use my minus, and I'm going to take a little bit of this color out of here. You just sort of touch the edge of your creature here, and it sort of works on it. There we go. And let's do plus down here, and let's add some of this. Yeah, it's not working so good. I might need a slightly bigger brush. Just like that. Yeah, that's about as good as that's going to let me do. But that helps me with the hair a little bit. So then I'm going to say, down here at the bottom, it can say output as selection or layer mask or new layer. I'm going to say layer mask. And I'm going to say done. And hopefully it will jump right out and not crash on me. And I can see here at the top, oops, you guys can't see on the screen, hold on. See this guy right here? Right now I'm waiting, it's computing, so it's trying to figure that edge out for me. So it's just going to take a minute, depending on how crazy that edge is here. So it doesn't look like it's moving anymore. That's a bad sign. That is a bad sign, gang. Ugh. Let's try that again. Done. All right. It worked. All right, so it made it as a layer mask. So then if I turn my background on, it sort of fits in. And of course, you can always go back, oops, in here. So like if I see this foot, and I want to make that foot disappear, what color am I going to paint with? White or black? If I want it to disappear. Black, very good. Ah! What just happened there? My brush is way too big. There we go. There it is. And if I want my edge to be softer, hardness is at 0. Opacity, let's turn that opacity down a little bit. Let's make my brush a little bit bigger because it's sort of ridiculously small there. There we go. And I'm just going to sort of tickle the edge of this here so it's fuzzy. And I'm just sort of tapping my finger along this edge here. Yeah, that sort of worked on some of that fur. I'm going to tap inside here. All right, so again, just sort of working along here, trying to get this guy as clean as possible. Just like so. Put this spot up in here. And depending on what your background is, it'll hide some of that color transition in here. Just like so. All right, then the last thing I'm going to show you, which is not really part of this, but I'm just going to show you a real quick thing, is see these white lines in here? These, oops, those white lines are because they're trying to keep me from using this image without paying for it. So if I use this guy right down here, you can practice with these a little bit. This brush right here is the healing brush, and we'll get into this one a little bit more, probably second semester. But if I just paint a quick line on here, oops, I gotta make sure I'm on the picture of the bear, sorry. There we go. See how I got rid of that white line? It's sampling other colors around this, and it's replacing that spot right there. Just like that. Super cool. All right, so there is my bear. Legs. All right, let's put them back on my head. There you go. So that's what you're gonna do. Any questions about that? Concerns? All right, so if you got your stuff, go ahead and hit it. Again, you can be following, and then you're just going to push it out here, share. JPEG, save image.